There's one thing I marvel about in my life. It seemed like, we experience more in life, more changes in our lifetime than we think anybody else on the planet that ever lived. Said because we know we were little kids, very few automobiles was on the street. As a matter of fact, we witnessed horse and wagons picking up the trash. And then they move on up to where we was going house to look at the radio. And the whole family, around dinner time, that was one good point, the family always ate together. They turned on the radio, and we'd be glad when my father news would go up, because he used to like to listen to like Walter Winchell, Grable, Heater. They was like news forecasts, like we see Keith Olbermann, and we witnessed the first television. I used to always think that the movies they showed us during World War II, say back in like 1942, I was no more than about 12 years old then, and then they would show us, they'll show where we were patriotic. I said, because even World War II, I was ready to fight for the country. I said, of course I was only 12 years old, but I was practicing using the broomstick for a rifle because I was ready to go to war. A few months later, they had a little trouble with the public transportation. They couldn't get, it was running out of help. Most of the men was going into service. So now they say they have to start hiring black men, because then it wasn't called SEPTA then, it was called PTC. They wanted to make sure a black person doesn't get that good paying job. And that was around the first time women started going into the workforce. They said they'd rather hire a white woman before they would hire a black man. Well, that's when the trouble was about to start, the little riots and all. And I'll never forget hearing President Roosevelt's voice on that little radio. We're looking at the little screen, no more about half the size of your cell phone. He's let the public know how important it was. He said these workers is building ammunition, defense things for our allies and our troops. He said he's not going to have it. He said, so what he did, he federalized the National Guard, the state of Pennsylvania, and he put on these trouble routes where the whites were throwing bricks in the window wherever they see a colored operator driving a bus or operating a trolley, mostly trolley cars then. He says, I'm putting a soldier on every trolley car with a rifle with a fixed bayonet. He said, I'm also going to place one on every other corner for the route that trolley is traveling. He said, I want to let all you citizens know, these are not police officers. They are soldiers. They are trained to kill. Would you believe it? Instantly, not one incident from the moment he spoke, nobody threw a brick, nothing happened. I say, then as a kid, I learned for the first time that racial discrimination can stop whenever the government was ready for it to stop. That was my wake-up call. And I would hear them saying about the Constitution. Remind you now, they said the Constitution only always rated the colored people as being 3/5 of a human. And they also said the Constitution had legalized slavery at the time it was written. I see, when I read the Constitution for myself, for the first time I was able to say what they said didn't seem true. And the first thing that got me fascinated to keep reading the Constitution, when I read the original Constitution, which only carried 7 articles, and it was signed by the 39 signers. In that frame, the word slavery was not mentioned, not even once. White people wasn't mentioned once. Indentured servants wasn't mentioned, not even once. And I said, I've seen too many pictures where they depict us as always a butler or a slave or something like that. I say, but I wonder how come that wasn't mentioned in the Constitution. And as I read on, I find out that the Constitution was written by good men. I said, one time they had me really thinking all white people was bad. I said, but then when I read the Constitution and started reading the history of America, I started reading about all the abolitionists that was really against slavery. And I say, when you see the truth, they were white folks. We had a civil war. They were white folks. And I say, what I think all black people should do, and all whites too, I think the world is ready for that now, for them to look at one another as really biological brothers and sisters, spiritually bound, because all of us come as the children of one God. And if we are all of God's creation, that makes us brothers and sisters whether we like it or not. God has made the choice already for us.